Hello everybody and welcome back to Battletech, where we finally got a debrief screen. So we just succeeded in taking out Majesty Metals and Manufacturing. Well done, Commander. You made the best of a bad situation. Here's hoping we don't run into another job like that one. I'm willing to bet we will. We are 15 rated on the Mercenary Review Board. Our rating with them indicates how trusted and effective our mercenary company is. A high MRB rating will earn us respect from fellow mercenaries and mech warriors for hire. So apparently Darius is his own faction. That's nice. We completed all of our objectives and we got no payment because we got betrayed horribly. Okay. We have about 1 million C-bills, which may sound like a lot of money, but it is not. That is almost bankrupt. We took a little bit of damage here. Our Spider took a lot of damage. Our Vindicator took some. Our Shadowhawk and Blackjack are essentially untouched, though. So that is good. Our Spider is going to be out for the count for a while, though, I think. Well, let's move on. And get ourselves a nice, sweet, sweet loading screen. Isn't it great? Loading screens are the best. Rent to own, in orbit over Urkruine. You need to start finding us better clients, Darius. I mean it. We've been slumming it on the ass end of the frontier for 3 years now, and we are drowning in debt. I'm fully aware of our financial situation, Meyer, but I can't just conjure up new clients out of thin air. Catherine, do me a solid and back me up on this. So, is this why you all made me your commander, so I could break up fights and review financial reports? If we're really that hard up for cash, we need to stop talking and doing something about it, or I didn't take command to settle arguments. I mean, we do need to stop talking and start doing something about it. Hey, you'll hear no arguments from me. When we made you our commander, we all agreed to follow your lead. Darius, could you walk us through the details of this trouble we're in? It might help if you broke things down point by point. Sure thing, Yang. Point 1. Meyer's right. We're in debt. Every C-bill we make technically belongs to the banks. Point 2. This corner of the frontier is a dead zone for mercenary work. There are clients, but they're terrible. That's just a fact. And that's it. There are no other points. How many jobs will it take to repay the loans? Why not just refuse to pay? Or we're in a bad spot. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? I don't see what else we can do, Catherine. I'm already serving up every legitimate contract I can find. Unless you want me to sidestep the Mercenary Review Board entirely, we're basically out of options. Go around the MRB? No thanks. Taking an uncertified job is a great way to wind up with a knife in your back. We just got betrayed on a board-certified contract, Yang. How much worse could it get? We're already taking a lot of risks out here. I don't want to compound them unless I absolutely have to, or it doesn't sound like such a bad idea to me. No guts, no galaxy, right? I'm gonna go with that. Plenty. What happened down there was just an exception, boss. With uncertified jobs, it's the rule. Remind me again why we don't just skip town and head to a nicer corner of the periphery? Because the banks and the jump ship crews have an arrangement. Until we pay up, they're going to keep us on a short leash. That's a good reason. Look, Darius, Meyer's right. We need to start earning some real money, and we need to do it soon. It's only a matter of time before something breaks down that I can't fix with duct tape and good intentions. This is a special option because of our origin, that we got betrayed in our origin. Let's go ahead and go with this. We're no stranger to betrayal, Yang. We lost our family to someone we thought of as a friend. Oh, okay, it went. Yeah, boss. Much as I hate to say it, I agree with you. We need to sidestep the MRB. Guess I'd better get mentally prepared for that knife in the back, huh? It's settled, then. I'll start digging for contracts outside of the MRB system. Who knows? Maybe it'll work out for the best. It isn't like we've got all that much to lose. In the meantime, we need to find another paying job, and our prospects in this system have completely dried up. I'd recommend booking travel to a neighboring system and seeing what the review board has for us. With any luck, we'll find enough work to keep going until something better rolls in. The banks are holding our jump ship access hostage until we repay our debts. For now, we can only go between Ur-Queen and the nearby systems of Alloway, Bellerophon, and Detroit. Our top priority right now needs to be finding work so we can raise cash. None of the contracts here are very good. I picked out the only viable one I could find, and it helpfully includes our travel fees as part of the deal. Come by the command center when you're ready to review it. Okay, so this here is apparently us, our Leopard class dropship. So this is the hiring hall. Okay, so we could recruit new mech warriors here. Gotcha. The store. So we can purchase components, mech parts, things like that. Okay. And then this here is the stuff on the ship. Captain's quarters, customized company, finances, and reputation. What is customized company? Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah. I'm just gonna go for what I chose for my multiplayer colors, which was this. And the secondary of basically the same color. Keep skipping right over them. Okay, I guess we go this way. So the same color and then kind of a golden highlight. There we go. We'll go with that for now. There's our company heraldry. We can always change it later. Also here, our faction reputations. All of the factions are indifferent to us. None of them care. Gotcha. This is our financial review here. It does not look good. Our estimated costs are 110,000 C-bills, so we have enough to operate for a few months. Not very many. But it's not looking well financially. And then in our navigation,
hello, Commander.
We have our navigation map and Sumair Meyer, our company's navigator and Leopard pilot. Speak to Sumair to learn about navigation, the hiring hall, and the store. She can also teach us about shipboard events.
How can I help, Commander?
Okay. Does the decision we made about uncertified contracts satisfy your concerns? My concerns won't be satisfied until our creditors have been paid and the loan sharks are off our backs. But this is a step in the right direction, and that makes me happy. I'm not blind to the risks that uncertified contracts entail, by the way. I mean, I know what we're doing is dangerous, but it's the best chance we've got to dig ourselves out of this hole. Questions about navigation? Sure, ask away. I mean, it's kind of important that you understand what you're doing, so if I can help with that, I'm all for it. Okay, Navigator, how do we get from system to system? The short answer is that you pick a destination on the star map and I make it happen. Interstellar travel takes time, sometimes weeks, and it'll cost us C-bills for fuel and passage on a jump ship, but it's the only way for an outfit like ours to survive out here. We go where the work is. What intel can I get about a system before choosing to go there? Enough to make a reasonably informed choice, I think. The star map makes political boundaries clear, so you'll know whose space we're entering. I've pre-programmed the star map to lock out travel to systems designated as no-fly zones. That's helpful. We're looking for work, not an interstellar incident. Okay. Beyond political boundaries, the nav system will highlight political factions active in the system. That should give you a good idea of who's hiring. It's probably a good idea to check our reputation with the local factions before ordering a long voyage. There's got to be more intel than just the local politics. There is. As you select systems on the star map, you'll see a list of the attributes the MERCnet database associates with them. Attributes like black market or poor are clues to local store contents, the type of mercs we'll find in hiring halls, contracts we may be offered, and potential mission environments. If you hover over an attribute, the star map will display a longer description for you. Beyond the political factions and attributes of a system, perhaps the most important to watch for is the difficulty rating of the merc contracts we'll find there. The MRB maintains a standardized rating system so folks like us who are trolling MERCnet for jobs can weigh the risks before accepting a contract. Let's ask about something else. What else can you tell us about the mechanics of space travel? Well, there's a Kearney Fuchida drive. Well, the long answer is that there are two types of space travel. Travel by dropships like ours and travel by jump ships. Dropships travel under 1g of thrust to move from a planet's orbit to a jump point. Jump points are far outside the gravity well of the star, and so travel to and from a jump point takes most of our travel time, sometimes weeks. Jump ships, on the other hand, are like ferries. They just sit at a jump point waiting for folks like us to latch onto their docking collar. Then we wait there for about 5 days while they spin up their jump drive. Once the jump drive is spun up, popping a dozen light years across the interstellar space to another jump point takes nearly no time at all. I've heard stories about pirate points that a jump ship can use. What are those? They're bad news, Commander. Difficult to locate and dangerous to use. I've heard of people using pirate points in desperate situations or on covert missions, but it's not worth the risk of a misjump. You won't find any pirate points on my star map, I can tell you that. Let's just avoid them. Okay. Do we always have to pay our way from system to system? Not always, no. If you check the contracts list in the command center, you'll often find employers posting travel contracts. Travel contracts are how employers attract mercenaries to their system by paying the outfit's travel expenses. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why not take the travel contract and then skip out on their mission for a more lucrative contract when we arrive? You can do that, Atraitus, but we'll automatically get charged the cost of the jump. Aw. You know that old saying, there's no such thing as a free ride? Yeah. Unfortunately, it's still true. Okay. That's good to know. This is a rather extensive tree here. The star map confuses me sometimes. Why does it take longer to get to one place than to another when the systems appear to be the same distance apart? Yeah, that bothered me too before I joined the Academy. Turns out that in real life, space travel isn't like what you see in the adventure holovids that Darius makes us watch. For starters, some stars are more massive than others. In the case of a really big star, you have to range pretty far afield to find a location suitable for a KF jump. And for us, that means a whole lot of molasses-slow sublight travel before we can even dock with a jump ship, let alone ride it anywhere. What can I do while we're orbiting in-system? Beyond negotiating a contract, most inhabited systems maintain a hiring hall where we can recruit new mech warriors. Be sure to take a look, you never know what kind of talent you're going to find. Most systems also have merchants who can buy and sell hardware such as weapons, equipment, and mech parts. Sometimes even fully operational battle mechs, too. That's all for now, Sumair. Thanks for the help. Yeah, sure, anytime. Commander Markham never really paid much attention to this kind of stuff, so your interest is a welcome change. I'm collecting stories about the crew. Tell me something about yourself. Well, I'm from a noble family, like you. World money, made our fortune out in Rosselhog, then repatriated to the Taurian Concordat. That's where I grew up. I'm not sure if this is the kind of stuff you were hoping to hear, but we can talk about whatever. I'm not shy. Where in the Concordat are you from? I grew up on New Vandenberg. It's a nice enough place, I suppose. Do you like birds? Not particularly, based on our Stellaris playthrough. Then do yourself a favor and avoid New Vandenberg. Avoid it like the plague. Something like 2/3 of the native fauna has feathers, flutters on the wind, and splatters its excrement across every available surface. Yeah. Naturally, the original colonists adopted the feathery little monsters into the culture, and those of us that came after were kind of stuck with it. Statues, fountains, murals, you name it. Just a giant feathery pile of screeching alien birds. If the system had a motto, it'd be Squawk. We get the picture. You sure? 'Cause I could keep going. I hate birds, is what I'm saying. That may be an unpopular opinion for a pilot, but I'll stand by it until the day I die. I agree with you, Sumair. Birds are the worst. Where'd you learn to pilot a leopard, anyway? The Taurian Naval Institute on New Vandenberg. Well, among other places, it's a big campus. The low-gravity training station orbiting Lompoc was my second home for a time. TNI flight training isn't usually open to civilians, but my parents had good credit back then, and they could name-drop Protector Calderon. That'll get you pretty far in the Concordat. For a while, anyway. Who is this guy? Born 2984, he succeeded his mother as Protector of the Taurian Concordat, so he's the leader of the faction. Okay. The other cadets in my class weren't especially happy sharing air with a civvy, but they couldn't say much. I was nobility, and they weren't. Everyone sort of kept me at arm's length, so I had plenty of time to concentrate on my studies. What can you tell me about House Meyer? You're looking at it. My parents are both gone. Blood cancer and heart disease, respectively. Both treatable, but they were out of money at that point, so into the ground they went. Ditto my brother David, who ran off to serve in the Third Succession War and never came back. Let's go with I'm sorry. The galaxy was at war for nearly 200 years, Commander. People died. You don't need to apologize for it. And truthfully, I was never really all that close to any of them. David was 13 years older than me and had a foot out the door before I turned 3, and my parents, well, they raised me by proxy in the traditional noble fashion. There was no real bond there, even when I was young. None of this is to say that my folks were bad people. They weren't. They were just doing what they knew. Their upbringing had been outsourced, just like mine was. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about my family. They're gone, I'm here, the end. So, you got another question, or should we get back to our duties? Your family came from Rosselhog? It was a long time ago, but yeah, as my parents told it, we were landowners on Pomme de Terre. It's an agricultural world, sort of the breadbasket of the Draconis Combine. And yes, I know that Pomme de Terre means potato. My ancestors came from the planet Potato. It took some time for me to accept that, but hey, here we are. Anyway, moving on. House Meyer's holdings were meager, but the value of that land was astronomical. For minor nobility, we were really very wealthy. And then the Third Succession War broke out, and the political rhetoric got ugly. House Meyer didn't want a single part of what was happening, so my ancestors emptied their accounts and ran. As a rule, House Kurita takes a really dim view of nobles who cut and run. Words like traitor and defector start getting thrown around. In the Combine, you really don't want to be on the receiving end of allegations like that. I wouldn't be standing here today if House Calderon hadn't granted my ancestors asylum in the Concordat. In all likelihood, House Meyer would have been wiped out before I was even born. We'll talk about something else. Be my guest. What do you need? We've got to get back to it. Talk to you later, Sumair.
I'll be here if you need me.
Okay, so this is the navigation map here. Okay, so these are the places we can go right now. Can't really move the map around currently. That'll probably open up more later. So let's go ahead and head into the mech bay. So here's Yang.
Need something?
Hey, boss. Welcome to the mech bay, my own little piece of heaven right here on the ship. Something I can help you with? I want an assessment on the Leopard. How much trouble are we in? Dunno. I mean, we're doing okay for the moment, but give it a few months, maybe a year. You know how it goes. Eventually, everything falls apart. Maybe our drive system will give out. Maybe some debris will perforate the hulls. Who knows? But on that day, we're going to need to be able to cover our repair costs, and if we can't, well, that'll be that. I've got a few questions about the medbay. Yeah? Then hit me with them. I'll do what I can to answer. I mean, I don't want to wax poetic or nothing, but the mech bay is where the magic happens, boss. It's the beating heart of a mercenary outfit. Anything we should know about the mech bays themselves? Beyond each cubicle holding one battle mech? Not really. It's all about capacity. The more mech bays we have, the more mechs we can keep battle ready, and the more mechs we have battle ready, the more flexibility you can have in your deployment options. Let's say we had 2 blackjacks, for example. A decent medium mech, for sure. I know your family gave you yours. One could be loaded out with lots of energy weapons for use in colder environments where they can bleed heat quickly. The other identical blackjack could be loaded out with ballistic weapons that require ammo but generate much less heat. Smart for deploying in warmer climates or in vacuum where heat dissipation is slower. Has a lot of things here. Why use mech storage? A few reasons. First, we have limited capacity in the mech bay, so we need to store the overstock for eventual sale or for use in the future. Second, we don't pay upkeep costs on mechs in storage. That's a business thing, though, not my department. Third, and this is most important, whenever we pick up partial mech salvage from the battlefield, I put it in storage for you. If we gather or buy enough partial mech salvage to complete a battle mech chassis, my team will assemble it right away. You let me know if you want to keep it in storage or have it readied for combat. Battle mechs are expensive as hell, so assembling one out of salvage is our best bet for expanding our roster. What happens when a mech goes into or gets readied from storage? When you send a mech chassis into storage, our mech techs dismount all its weapons and equipment and place them in your inventory for use on other chassis. A chassis can stay in storage indefinitely, and don't worry about storage capacity, boss. I'll make it fit. Don't you worry. Now, getting a stored battle mech ready for a combat drop is a different animal. My techs will need a couple of days to bring an empty chassis up from storage. Once the chassis is back in the mech bay, you'll need to select its loadout from our equipment and inventory so we can start a refit. The time and cost of a refit is dependent on the type and amount of equipment you choose. Okay. I've been wondering about the components you can put on our mechs. One of my favorite topics. In the mech bay, you can browse all the equipment we have available in inventory. There are two types of components I can install on a battle mech: weapons and equipment. Tell me about ballistic weapons. Ballistic weapons, such as the autocannon, pack a good punch, generate little heat, and can destabilize an enemy if they hit it enough. But ballistic weapons are, ballistic, so they require ammo. And ammo can explode if it takes a hit in combat, which is bad news all around. Ballistic weapons are also pretty heavy and can take up a lot of space on a mech. Strengths and weaknesses, boss. Strengths and weaknesses. Let's tell me about energy weapons. Energy weapons don't use any ammo, but they generate a lot of heat. You may need to invest in additional heat sinks to keep your mech cool if you choose an energy-heavy loadout. Tell me about missile weapons. Missile weapons are my favorites. Yeah, they require ammo and generate moderate heat, but the pounding they deliver can destabilize an enemy faster than most other weapons, and having multiple projectiles in a shot means you're almost guaranteed to land at least a single hit. Long-range missiles are also capable of indirect fire. If one of your units has line of sight on an enemy, it can act as a spotter for LRM-equipped units that don't. We know, we already did that. With a spotter, a mech equipped with LRMs can stay behind cover and arc its missiles to hit the enemy. A spotter can increase your launcher's effective range, too. Granted, the enemy can do the same to you, but that's someone else's problem. I don't want to sell short-ranged missiles short, though. They can generate incredible impact and they do great damage. But you gotta be within knife fight range to use them. Tell me about support weapons. That's the one I'm actually interested in here. Support weapons are lighter than the others. Small lasers, machine guns, that kind of thing. I programmed our targeting computers to automatically fire them after a melee attack if they're activated. I've seen commanders order refits that remove most conventional weapons to double down on support weapons. With the right melee-enhancing components, they can field monsters capable of point-blank devastation. Tell me about the other types of equipment you can refit on a mech. It's a big list, boss. I suggest you check the store in every system we travel to. You never know what you'll find. I can install stronger cockpits to reduce the injuries our mech warriors will take, arm actuators that increase melee damage, rangefinders that increase the range at which enemies can be visually acquired, all sorts of stuff. I'll take up critical slots on a battle mech. Some add weight, too. Keep your eyes open for them and give them a good once-over before you buy one so you know what you're getting into. Now, putting powerful weapons and equipment on your mech is fine and all, but remember the trade-off is always armor. You know how they say the best defense is a strong offense? They aren't on the battlefield. Don't skimp on the armor, boss, or all that expensive equipment will be reduced to junk with the enemy's first salvo. I heard that some manufacturers have developed better versions of some weapons. True that. Different manufacturers tweak their weapons to deliver more damage, have higher accuracy, destabilize the enemy, a bunch of stuff. The trick is finding them. They're rare out here in the periphery, so when I see one in a store or salvage pile, I always mark it with a plus for you so you can identify it easily. And some equipment is rarer than others. The more plus symbols I mark them with, the rarer and more useful they are. Keep your eyes peeled. You never know what you're going to find. Excellent. How do I repair mech damage after a battle? Whenever you return from a mission, stop by the mech bay here to tell me which mechs you want to have repaired. I'm not going to assume anything. You run this outfit, so you tell me what to spend time and money on. Okay, that's not completely true. If I see armor missing from a battle mech, I'm going to repair it automatically. It's standard operating procedure, and we have so much scrap armor lying around that you should consider armor repairs to be free. Now, if you tell me to repair a mech containing destroyed equipment, the techs will strip that off automatically too. I'll list the equipment they strip, but you're going to want to replace it with something. Anyway, like I was saying, armor repairs are free. Internal structure, on the other hand, takes time and C-bills to fix. If a mech structure is damaged or missing, I'll flag it for you in orange. Just order the repair, confirm the time and cost, and I'll get it into our work queue. What if I want to change a mech's loadout? Can I refit it with new weapons and equipment? Ooh, now you're talking, boss. You bet you can refit a mech. You can repair it at the same time, too. Just select a battle mech and order the refit. That'll bring it to the mech lab. What can I do in the mech lab? The mech lab is where you let me know what sorts of modifications you want to make for our stable of battle mechs. I can install new weapons and equipment, add or remove armor location by location, pretty much anything you want. All it takes is time and money. We've got plenty of both, right? Are there limits on how I can refit a mech? It's hardware, Atraitus. Of course there are limits. Your biggest constraints are the chassis' weight and its hardpoints. I can't make a mech as heavy as I want? Negative. A mech's chassis can support only so much tonnage in armor, weight, in weapons, armor, and equipment, so you need to keep its overall weight in mind when designing a battle mech's loadout. If your design is over a chassis' weight rating, we can't accept the work order. Now, there are ways of making things fit, of course. Trade-offs can be made, but you've got to be careful. We have the ability to remove armor from individual locations in order to squeeze more or bigger weapons on, but less armor is less armor. You don't want to wind up in something that'll blow over in a strong breeze. Trust me on that. I've seen it happen often enough to know. What's a hardpoint again? Each location on a battle mech contains one or more weapon mounts called hardpoints. Hardpoints are only designed for one specific weapon type: ballistic, energy, missile, and support. However, most mechs contain locations with more than one hardpoint, so you have some flexibility in what you mount there. Let's go back for a minute. How do I know what a mech is good at in the first place? Great question. There are a lot of different battle mechs out there, and it's hard to know what they were built to do best by just looking at them. I mean, I can, of course, but I'm me. You, on the other hand, are going to need some help. Thankfully, I'm a helpful guy. If you check your technical readouts in the mech lab, you'll find that I've included some thoughts about each mech's off-the-rack purpose or stock role. They're only opinions, mind you, but you might find them useful. What happens after I order a refit? Once you confirm your work order, it'll be placed in a queue with other repairs and refits on your timeline. Remember, a mech will be unavailable for combat until its work order is complete, so plan your refits carefully. I suggest queuing them up before we head to the next system to use our travel time efficiently. If you want to change a mech's placement in the work queue, select Manage Tasks under the timeline to reprioritize or cancel work orders. How long does it usually take? Depends on the mech bay conditions you're working in. A good mech bay with advanced scaffolding and equipment is faster than the one you'll find on a standard Leopard. I display our mech bay's efficiency and mech tech points on your travel display under the Finances and Crew Morale readouts. The higher the rating, the faster the repairs. You seem to know your way around a battlefield, Yang. Any advice? Sure. The better you lead in combat, the less work I have to do when it's over. Let's talk about heat. Yeah, let's talk about it. I can't emphasize this enough. Watch your heat. Your mech warriors are sitting on walking fusion reactors out there. Using jump jets and firing weapons generates heat, sometimes lots of it. If one of your mechs get too hot, you could do damage to its internal structure, or worse, shut down the engine in the middle of combat, leaving it a sitting duck. How can I affect heat in combat? Each weapon system on a battle mech can be toggled on or off each time it takes action. Most mech warriors keep their heat low by toggling off weapons with lower chances to hit. But sometimes, you'll have a solid chance to hit with everything in your arsenal. That's when you gotta experiment by toggling a few off to make sure you stay below the red line. How can I make a mech more heat efficient? Note your mech's heat rating in the mech lab and install more heat sinks on it if you find that it runs hot in combat. Heat sinks vent plasma from the mech's engine and do a lot to dissipate the buildup from jump jets and weapon fire. Heat sinks are your friend. Let's talk mech stability. Yeah, stability's a smart thing for a commander to understand, boss. Getting pummeled by weapon fire is a good way for a mech to become destabilized. Walking over rough terrain doesn't help much either. Destabilized mechs can't sprint in combat, and they're vulnerable to falling if hit hard enough while in that state. Tell me how to make my battle mechs less vulnerable to weapon fire. There's a few ways I can think of: evasion, cover, and bracing. Let's hear about evasion. The short form version is this: the further a unit goes, the more evasive it becomes. Shooting a moving target is hard, and shooting a faster target is harder. When you order a mech to move in combat, note the number of angled chevrons your command software assigns it. The more chevrons that are displayed, the harder it'll be to hit. Same for the enemy. Sensor locking an enemy removes 2 of its evasion chevrons and makes it easier to hit. Same goes for your units, so be careful. Cover? Battle mechs are kinda big, aren't they? Yep, they're big and scary and dangerous, and they're harder to hit standing in forests and other terrain features. Standing behind buildings or hills is good too. If the enemy can't see you, they're going to have a hard time hitting you. It's all about line of sight. Think about it. Think about it all the time. Your enemy is, I guarantee it. If they can see you, a little red eyeball will appear above them in your command software. Mastiff taught me to brace my mech, but that doesn't make it harder to hit. No, bracing your mech won't make it harder to hit, but it should buffer some of the damage you'll take by half or so think about it, eh? I think that's everything for this guy. That's enough for now, Yang. Oh wait, we've also got this. Tell me a little bit about yourself. How'd you wind up with this crew? That's a long story, boss. Shortest version I can give you? I signed on after I served my term in the Third Succession War fighting for the Capellan Confederation. If you want to know more, you can ask whatever you want. Otherwise, let's get back to talking shop. Where are you from originally? Bryant, in the Confederation. You may have heard of our claim to fame, the Crowley lizard cow. No? Well, trust me, they're delicious. An edible reptile indigenous to the planet Bryant. Considered a delicacy and is one of their few exports. Okay. Anyway, as the story goes, Bryant was a nice place for one. Or was a really nice place once. A big tourist spot, big with hikers and fishing enthusiasts. Pale blue skies, emerald green seas, and a booming agricultural business. You know, the works. I never knew it that way, though. Stefan Amaris got to it a couple centuries before I was born, and, well, that was that. Stefan Amaris, of course, is the president of the Rimworld's Republic, and he did some nukes and stuff, if I recall correctly. As the story goes, Bryant used to have these enormous orbital mirrors, storm inhibitors they called them. The Star League put them in place. When Amaris took the system in his civil war, he had his troops use them for target practice. Without those mirrors, Bryant reverted to its natural state, a miserable little ball of wind-blown dirt, actively hostile to human life. By the time I came along, the only places where people could live in relative safety were the planet's poles. Of course, you can't fit a planet's entire population into a handful of cities at its poles. There isn't enough space, no matter how far down you dig or how tall you build. A lot of people, mostly the poor, died in the early days. There's still a lot of overcrowding in Bryant's cities, even now. That's my childhood home in a nutshell. Way too many people jammed into a tiny claustrophobic space with nowhere to go but off-planet. I cleared out of there as fast as I could and never looked back. Gotta admit, though, I do miss the taste of lizard cow. I keep wanting to read that as crow. Tell me about your time in the military. Who'd you serve with? 2nd St. Ives Lancers. My man. 1st Battalion under Major Ling. We saw more action than most. The arm is a souvenir of my time in the service. I lost the original back in 3010 on St. Louis. You know, when we first arrived at St. Louis, I loved the place. It's an agricultural world, sort of a breadbasket for the neighboring systems. Green fields, rolling hills, you get the picture. We'd just walked out of hell on Kittery. The Fed Rats drove us out in 05 with our tails between our legs, so it looked like paradise to us. I remember kicking back in the mech bay, my feet propped up on an engine block, sipping on a snifter of ambergris vermouth. Not a bad way to spend a sunny afternoon. Anyway, turned out the Federated Suns weren't done with us yet. We were barely a month into our deployment when they sent the SETI Hussars to burn us out. I'm sure there were sound strategic reasons for House Davian to want St. Louis, but it sure felt personal to me. Long story short, one of their scouts managed to slip through our perimeter and hit my mech bay. I was tinkering around in a Centurion's custom-made rumble seat at the time, being surrounded by all that armor. It's the only reason I made it out alive. Still, I didn't make it out unscathed. I lost 2 of my favorite assistants and my own right arm, and I've got this ugly thing grafted onto me as a reminder. Why'd you leave the Capellan Confederation? After my tour of duty was up, you mean? I don't know, it was just time for a change. Besides, the place wasn't for me anymore. In a way, it never really was. I learned a lot from my time in the service. Got a first-hand view of the elitist bullshit that saturates Capellan culture and how it rewards highborn idiots at the common people's expense. Speaking as a thoroughly common man, that didn't sit right with me. When my tour was over, I walked away and never looked back. This looks like actual choices here. For what it's worth, I'm glad you walked away. You've brought my mech back from the brink more than once. Way more than once, if memory serves. Still, I appreciate the kind words, and for what it's worth, I'm happy to be here with this crew. Going career military would have been an enormous mistake. Actually, we have more options here. You never really get away from the aristocracy, Yang. Hell, I was born a noble. Yeah, but you're a competent noble, and you aren't afraid to get your hands dirty. At the end of the day, that's all I really care about. I wonder how many times I watch talented engineers get passed over for promotions so some idiot with a title could advance. Too many to count. In your position, I probably would have done the same. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about something else. I gotta get back to it. Talk to you later, Yang. Okay, so this is our mech bay here. We definitely need to figure out how to repair things. Looks like we are already repaired here on our Blackjack. This Vindy has a little bit of damage. Yeah, so the Blackjack is untouched. We'll repair the Vindy. This will cost 12,000 C-bills and take 4 days. Yes. The Spider will be a lot more. This is our Shadowhawk here. That's untouched. We also have a Locust here that is not touched either. We did not deploy with that. So how much is this going to cost us? I mean, it looks a lot worse than it is, I think. 20,400 C-bills in 8 days. It looks worse than it is. Okay. So, here are our mech warriors. That is us. That is Behemoth. That is Decker. Glitch is currently, I believe, wounded? Yes, she is healing. She's confined to the medbay to recover. So she is wounded. 26 days to recover. And we also have Medusa. Okay. Well, this is already getting rather lengthy. We still have Darius to talk to. So I'm going to go ahead and put a cut in here. And I will see you all next time.